Hello, Seiiti Arata. You probably already heard of this experiment. Scientists locked 5 monkeys in a cage. In that cage, there was a bunch of bananas hanging from the ceiling and a wooden ladder. If the monkeys decided to climb the ladder, they would be able to reach the bananas. However, as soon as the first monkey started up the steps to grab the bananas, the scientists sprayed ice-cold water on all 5 monkeys. The first monkey fell off the ladder and all 5 monkeys ended up wet, scared and angry. After some time, another monkey began to climb the ladder to try to reach the bananas. And again, all 5 monkeys were punished with another spray of freezing water. Well, after a few tries, the monkeys understood that whenever one of them decided to climb up the ladder, they were all punished with ice-cold water. And thus all the monkeys gave up. Even though they wanted to reach the bananas, none of them dared to approach the ladder after so many water jet punishments. And once all 5 monkeys had been convinced to not climb up the ladder, the second phase of the experiment began. Scientists opened the cage, they removed one of the wet monkeys and replaced it with a new monkey. A new monkey which had never been part of the experiment before. The new monkey looked at the bananas, noticed the ladder and then quickly started to climb up towards the bananas. However, the 4 original monkeys grabbed this new monkey from the ladder and picked this new monkey up to prevent it from climbing up the stairs. After all, the wet monkeys didn't want to be faced with another jet of ice-cold water. After being beaten up by the 4 monkeys, the new monkey now learned to stop reaching for the bananas and to stay away from the ladder, even though he had never been punished by the scientists like the others. And then the scientists replaced another original monkey with a new one. And when this new second monkey tried to reach the bananas, for same story. The first new monkey and also the 3 original monkeys beat up this second new monkey so he wouldn't try to climb the ladder again. Well, the scientists replaced a wet monkey with a new monkey again and again until none of the original 5 monkeys from the first phase of the experiment were left in the cage. In other words, none of the monkeys left in the cage had been punished by a jet of ice-cold water for trying to climb up the ladder during the first phase. And still, none of the monkeys tried to climb up the ladder to reach the bunch of bananas hanging from the ceiling. They didn't know the reason why they should not try to grab the bananas. They just knew it had always been like that. The 5 monkeys experiment teaches you to not think like a monkey. Well, the most interesting thing about the 5 monkeys experiment is that it never existed. Or at least it was never published. Even though the story usually draws a lot of attention, it probably never really happened. Well, particularly not in a way that most people tell that story. If you like doing your own research, here's a heads up. There is an experiment by Gordon Stevenson that often gets credited as the origin of the story. However, it does not involve bananas or ice-cold water jets. The study was probably distorted by motivational speakers who used the alleged 5 monkeys experiment to teach that social rules must be questioned. Now, whether the 5 monkeys experiment happened or not, we are all influenced by the society we live in. That is why it is important to repeat the warning that we gave in the episode 24 of the Hello, Seiiti Arata series. Basically, that self-help books and viral stories have to be analyzed carefully. So, in summary, do not trust everything that is shown to you. Verify, search, think. We should be astute. We should put our cognitive capacity to use and reflect on whether stories like this are truly applicable to our lives. And what are the similarities between the 5 monkeys and your brain? Now let's imagine that the 5 monkeys experiment was real. Would that mean that your brain could be manipulated in the same way? Do you think that some things simply cannot be done just because no one around you does them? Or do you think that because things were always in a particular way, they will always be like that? Do you ask yourself why the world around you is the way it is? What are the moments in your life when you just stare longingly at a bunch of bananas without even trying to climb up the ladder? The 5 monkeys experiment is interesting, but there is a fundamental point that cannot be ignored. We human beings have a power that monkeys do not possess, the power of language, assertive communication, and critical thinking. You have the ability to say no. So it makes no sense to live a life of indoctrination and conformism. It does not make sense to use the 5 monkeys experiment to explain how the human brain works. Now replace the monkeys in the cage with humans. After seeing everyone get sprayed with ice cold water or beaten up, looking at the bananas without trying to grab them, you would probably ask, oh, hey you guys, why do you beat me up when I try to climb up the ladder? Why did the people who try to reach the bananas get punished before? What's going on? Well, let's try again in another way. How about if you all try to grab the bananas together, sharing them equally without, starting any fights? You see, human beings are not the strongest, the fastest, or the most efficient of all beings. We would be easy prey to many other animals. But we managed to become the dominant species on the planet because of our cognitive ability. Our thinking capacity allows us to communicate in a way that no other animal can. We can create stories, we use our creativity to solve problems, we are good at connecting ideas from different areas of knowledge, and we always question, we improve, we share knowledge. Even if social pressure tries to make us follow traditions that may no longer make sense, we can always question that decision and separate what makes sense from what is a senseless, just a perpetuated taboo. And that means that we do not need to keep doing things in a certain way just because it is how it was always being done previously. Now, of course, if something has been done in the same way for centuries, and if it is working quite well, maybe there is some wisdom in that tradition. So here is the importance of critical thinking. The fact that something has been done in the same way for a long time does not mean that change is needed. Every case is different. So you need to analyze which traditions should be kept and which traditions should be improved. Learn to say no to habits and traditions that no longer make sense. Now, what happens when we stop using our cognitive capacity to think about what we are doing? We're distancing ourselves from what makes us human. And when we start to act like well-trained animals, we let ourselves be controlled. In other words, we become less human. On the other hand, it is natural to save time, to save energy by simply following established habits and traditions, going along with the general group behavior. Because if you questioned every single small detail of your life, you'd go mad. However, there are moments when we should question our habits or traditions, or we risk making the same mistakes as everyone else. As time passes, culture changes. Just think about all the changes made in the last years on issues of equal rights, discrimination, and prejudice. Some actions that were tolerated or even considered normal not so many years ago are now considered completely unacceptable. Society changes, and human beings change as well with time. All of this is the result of using cognitive capacity to question behavior, normality, and why things are the way they are. In the same way that great cultural changes happen over time, you can use your cognitive ability to change habits and traditions that no longer make sense to you. You can say no to actions that no longer are in line with what you want for your life. You can stop the habits that are pulling you away from the person you want to become today. And you can say no right now to wrong actions, to outdated traditions, to anything that you're doing because it has always been like that. Imagine having this precious ability to reflect over one's own actions and simply not using it. This would be the same as acting as a conforming, well-trained monkey, always repeating what has been previously done and bowing to peer pressure. Just because things have always been done in a particular way does not mean that it is the right way. There are probably many habits, many traditions in your life that can be changed if you use your cognitive ability to analyze why you follow them. And when you reflect over your actions, it is clear to see why you can say no to actions that no longer make sense to you. Saying no to yourself or to others is not easy for most people. If you want to finally learn to communicate in an assertive, polite, firm way, here is a special class in how to say no training that you can watch right now by clicking arata.se/how to say no.